A very good morning. This is Avinindra Som and you're listening to the news in detail on Gold FM.
The news headlines on Gold FM.
Experts warn of price hikes for goods due to Middle Eastern conflict. Laughs gas hikes prices. Substandard coal not affecting Norocchale is a moot theory, insists expert. Unions pledge to fix 17,000 electricity breakdowns. Iraq rescues 38 crew from blazing oil tankers. Record oil release amid Strait of Hormuz closure. Iran to boycott FIFA World Cup.
The top story on Gold FM.
Laughs Gas implemented a price increase for domestic LPG cylinder refills starting at midnight. The cost of a 12.5 kilogram cylinder rose by 300 rupees, bringing the new price in the Colombo district to 4,630 rupees. Simultaneously, the 5 kilogram cylinder increased by 120 rupees, now retailing at 1,862 rupees. Company officials attributed the revision to ongoing geopolitical conflicts and shifts in international energy markets that created supply chain pressures and higher global procurement costs. Despite these adjustments, Laughs Gas maintains its commitment to ensuring a steady supply through its national distribution network.
This is the local news on Gold FM.
"17,000 power failures were reported across the country despite the termination of a major industrial action. Electricity trade unions representatives confirmed that efforts to restore supply proceed urgently following a two-day walkout. 24 unions initiated the strike on the 9th of March over concerns regarding employee appointments and the future of the Ceylon Electricity Board. The protest ended late yesterday after a decisive meeting with the Deputy Labour Minister, Mahinda Jayasinghe. Public frustration grew throughout the disruption as various regions experienced total outages. The importation of coal allegedly of lower standards than required is an accusation that is well publicized at this point. Despite government assurances that substandard coal is not affecting the Norocchale power plant, experts are sounding the alarm. Documents from the Public Utilities Commission suggest the plant is struggling, and the reality on the ground points to a looming energy crisis. Energy expert Dr. Vidura Ralapanava explains that the low-quality fuel is already causing a massive drop in the plant's output.
So the PUCSL report actually gives diagrams in that report which show that certain temperature sensors that are showing values that are outside the normal operating range, and it's struggling to run with this coal and generate electricity to its full capacity. In fact, the report very clearly points out that out of the 9 shipments that they analyzed, none of them could generate the 300 megawatt that is the capacity of this power plant. And we historically, I don't remember a single instance going back to at least 10 years that we have had coal that did not allow the plant to generate a 300 megawatt. There is a problem, whatever government says, this quality, bad quality coal has been shown to have problems in the plant.
The substandard coal is physically damaging the machinery. Because it lacks the proper grindability, it's clogging the very system designed to feed the generator.
So what happens is coal pieces come through a feeding belt and it gets ground into fine particles before being fed into the combustion chamber. So there are, for each coal unit, there are 5 grinding mills. What happened on Wednesday night around 11 o'clock, 2 of the grinding mills out of 5 in unit 3 got clogged. And this is, the plant engineers think that this is because the quality of coal is bad, the grindability is lower than what we need. Now suddenly you have a drastic drop. Instead of 300, they are actually generating 277 because 30 megawatts is used for internal equipment. This dropped to 160 megawatts immediately, right within an hour.
Compounding these mechanical failures is a ticking clock on the supply chain. The government insists the required coal is on its way, but with global shipping disrupted by war, Dr. Alapanava points out that the sheer math of getting enough shipments to the island has already collapsed.
What that means is 1st of March we should have got one ship on unloading start, 6th of March, 11th of March, 16th of March, 1st of March, 26th of March. So 6 ships should come within March. Now let's look at what has happened. I believe the first ship for March only came on 3rd. The second ship should have started unloading on 6th, but it hasn't come yet. I think probably come tomorrow or something. But the third ship, Supply has asked for more time because they are unable to find vessels because of the war. Sail from South Africa on the 11th. It takes 14 days for it to reach Sri Lanka. So that means the earliest we can start unloading ship number 3 out of 6 that has to be unloaded in March. We'll only start unloading it on 25th of March. So really, if you look at it, it's not possible to unload even 4 ships in March. So the basic math fails.
With mechanical failures, a disrupted supply chain, and an unforgiving weather deadline, what does this mean for the Sri Lankan public?
Now, we cannot really unload coal after the 30th of April because the monsoon starts and the ocean becomes very choppy. How we unload the coal is the coal ship is anchored in the deep sea and we send barges basically parked next to the coal ship and coal ship drops the coal into the barge. When the sea is unstable, the coal ship and barge cannot sit next to each other and therefore it cannot be unloaded. So this is why coal has to be unloaded by 30th of April. By the looks of it, we may miss minimum 5 ships from my estimation out of the 25. Now each ship, if we are feeding to all 3 power plants, is consumed in 8 days. So if we miss 5 ships, we miss 40 days worth of coal. Now since we can't run the system with all 3 coal plants not functioning, what will happen is we will have to shut down one plant for 4 months.
With the highest energy demand months of April and May approaching, it remains to be seen how the grid will cope under the mounting pressure.
So their whole idea is that because Northern is working properly and all the coal shipments are coming, there is no risk of power failures. But since 1 and 2 are not true, we have to accept that there is a risk of power failures. As I mentioned previously, risk of power failures requires a certain set of conditions to come, including rainfall as well as plant failures. But I can tell you there's an elevated risk of power failures simply because we can't get the coal supply that we need, and there is a risk to the coal plant machinery. But both facts that they are saying are not true. We have to be open and say they are not true. One is coal plant is functioning without a problem is not true. Second, that we are able to bring in all the coal required for the season is also not true.
Now for some news in brief.
Showers or thunder showers are expected in western and Savaragama provinces and in the Galle, Mathura, Kandy and Nurali districts after 2 p.m.
The business news on Gold FM.
And now it's time for a stock market update brought to you by Roshan Fernando of Capital Trust Securities.
The Colombo Stock Exchange closed lower after the previous day of rebound as investors escalated on black bets on significantly higher oil prices which could cripple economies. The all-share price index dropped 26 points to close at 22,351 after giving up early gains seen in the first hour of trading. Meanwhile, the S&P SL 20 index also dropped 0.72 points to close at 6,279. Turnover recorded at 4.32 billion, which is lower than the year-to-date average of 6.25 billion. This was supported by active trading in SoftLogic Holdings, Lanka Credit Business, SoftLogic Capital. Sector-wise, diversified financials, capital goods, banking dominated the activity. Total 123 stocks declined while 87 gained. Mesacorp, Colombo Dockyard, Carson's Cumberbatch weighted mostly towards the all-share price index.
Oil prices settled off nearly 5% as fears of supply disruptions intensified across global markets. Brent futures rose 6.86% to settle at $98 and 29 cents a barrel, while US West Texas Intermediate ended the session up 6.99% at $93 and 35 cents a barrel.
International news on Gold FM.
Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian had phone calls with Russian and Pakistani leaders yesterday and today, and he hinted that Iran may be ready to return to negotiations, but that's under three conditions: Iran's sovereign rights, reparations for the destruction caused in the country, and guarantees that such an aggression is not repeated. Iran is waiting for a response from the other side, but they have said many times that they have no trust in them. US President Donald Trump says the United States military is effectively eliminating Iran's naval and air capabilities within hours during recent operations. Speaking in Kentucky, the president stated that 58 Iranian ships were knocked out.
And we knocked out, as of, every hour I have to change because they knock them out so fast. I've never seen anything. Think of it. They knocked out 54 ships in 2 days, and they're real ships. In fact, I got angry at my people. I said, are they any good? Yeah, they're warships. I said, why the hell did we kill them? Why didn't we just capture them and use them in our Navy? They said they wouldn't have qualified for that. But I got a little upset with my people. I said, why do we have to knock them? And actually, one of my generals said, sir, it's a lot more fun doing it this way. But we knocked out 58 naval ships. We knocked out their Navy, okay? Let's put it that way. But they also knocked out the mine layers. They call them mine layers. They put mines in the water. Lovely job. Isn't that nice? Blow up ships. And we knocked out 31 of them. And I was very proud of myself.
Trump further asserts that the military action will lead to a substantial reduction in global oil prices. President Donald Trump describes current US military strikes in Iran as a limited excursion designed to keep the country out of a larger conflict. The president maintains that the swift nature of the strikes ensures a quick conclusion to hostilities. According to the administration, the operation aims to neutralize threats while avoiding a long-term ground engagement. 32 member nations, in the meantime, of the International Energy Agency agreed to release 400 million barrels of oil to stabilize global markets. The United States provides nearly half of this total, with 172 million barrels coming from its strategic petroleum reserve starting next week. In the meantime, the Israeli military initiated a new wave of airstrikes targeting Hezbollah positions in the southern suburbs of Beirut following a barrage of rockets fired into northern Israel. Witnesses in the Lebanese capital report the loudest night of explosions since the conflict began, with smoke and orange flashes visible across the city. Lebanese health officials state that over 600 people died since the strikes commenced earlier this month. Over in the UAE and Qatar, reports are emerging of a series of aerial attacks involving drones and ballistic missiles launched from Iran. Qatar's defense ministry confirms the interception of 8 missiles and several drones, while an unmanned aircraft fell on a residential building in Dubai. 2 foreign oil tankers are ablaze in Iraqi territorial waters in the port of Al-Faw following a targeted strike by explosive-laden boats. Iraqi security officials confirm 1 crew member is dead and 38 others have been rescued, with initial investigations pointing to Iranian involvement in the sabotage. The maritime assault follows a direct warning from Tehran regarding oil shipments in the Strait of Hormuz and has contributed to a collapse in Iraqi oil production, which plunged from over 3 million barrels a day to less than 1 million. The United Nations Security Council adopted a resolution supported by 135 countries calling for an immediate end to the attack by Iran against its neighbors. The United States argues that the Iranian strategy backfired, though Russia and China abstained from the vote. A competing Russian resolution which urged all parties to cease fighting without naming Iran specifically failed to gain enough support to pass.
Entertainment news on Gold FM.
Oscar winner Kate Winslet is set to take the female lead in the upcoming film The Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum. Sources confirmed that the director Andy Serkis and producer Peter Jackson spent much of last year recruiting Winslet for the undisclosed role, which requires filming in New Zealand from May through October.
Sports news on Gold FM.
Iran will not participate in the FIFA World Cup after the US and Israel strikes killed Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The sports minister Ahmad Doniamali stated yesterday that the nation refuses to compete in the tournament under any circumstances because the American regime assassinated their leader. All of Iran's group stage matches were scheduled in US cities, but officials argue the team cannot participate as Iranian athletes would not be safe in the host nation. St. Peter's College secured a dominant 45-3 victory over Ananda College in the pre-quarter-finals of the 2026 Schools Rugby Knockout Tournament. Meanwhile, Trinity College also secured a dominant victory in the quarter-finals with a convincing 38-8 win against Thurston College yesterday. That's all the news for now. Stay tuned to Gold FM for the latest updates. This is Abhinindra Soma for Gold FM News.